verse 19, you read it to us. It says, he's the first of the ways of God. Other translations have chief of the ways of God. So what does that mean? What could that mean except that he's the biggest land creature God ever made? And what's the purpose of God's speech here to Job? He's saying, if this creature is X size, then I, being its maker, must be bigger than X times infinity or whatever. So that's his whole point. His whole point is, look how big and enormous and unapproachable this thing is. How can you approach me? Speaking of unapproachability, we found some new research that matches this detail also. It says, verse 19, only he who made him can bring near his sword. So you try to walk up with your sword, and you're coming up to this behemoth, and you're tromping through the woods or the lotus trees and the marsh, and you're slopping through the marsh there, and you can't even approach him. Why? Well, we found out that Diplodocus had a tail that was structured in such a way that it tapered, it got smaller and smaller, and there's like the last vertebrae are super tiny, super thin, and there's secular paleontologists who have reconstructed an aluminum version of it, and they have used it as a whip. So he could have used that tail as a whip. And they postulate, I think wisely and appropriately, what's called a skin tag. Have you heard that one?
I have.
Yeah, skin tag.
Well,
So
I haven't heard it specifically about this animal. I mean, but
okay,
okay, wow.
you've heard of skin tag, like, oh, I need to get my skin tag removed.
Yeah, I got one of these things. I got to get off. Yeah.
So this was actually grew on purpose. It's like a sacrificial a bit of leather that grew out to the end of that tail, so that it would absorb the whip. So anyway, it could make a sonic boom. So it could move the end of its tail faster than the speed of sound, and that would have. And then all he has to do is rotate his body, swing that tail like a whip, and he's got this perimeter that's effectively 20 feet on all sides, so 40-foot perimeter around his entire body. You can't even get near him.
Wow.
Based on this. And so literally you could not physically get near him without getting your body smashed in half by this sonic boom tail whip that we've learned from fossils, from reconstructing fossils. But here he just mentions it like this, saying, only he who made him can bring near his sword. You people down below can't even approach him. And so these are some of the details that really seem to have come together, where we take science, the science of studying bones, reconstructing these bones, and lining those up with what the Word of God says. And it looks like we've got a pretty good match, a lot better of a match between Diplodocus and Behemoth than, say, Hippopotamus and Behemoth.